What's up? It's your girl, Miss TT Ma, and I'm back at it again. Yes. Y'all probably saying, damn, girl, where have you been? Well, I'm about to tell you guys where have I been. Yeah, so you guys are probably wondering, like, oh, where have this girl been? Honestly, I've been going through a lot. Like, a lot. Like, I don't even know where to start. Like, the main reason why I have been, like, AWOL is because I have a son that's been diagnosed with ADHD and ODD. And he's also being assessed for, like, other things right now. But for sure right now, he's been been diagnosed with the ADHD and ODD. Yeah. So it's been very, very, very hard on like me, my husband, my other children. I'm not sure if you guys really know what ADHD is, but and how like serious it could be, but it's a lot. It's a lot. When he was younger, I always knew something was wrong with Jezreel. Like, not in a sense like in a bad way, but I just knew that like Jezreel's kind of different. Like, he was always on me, never wanted to go to no one else. Only laugh and play with me. If you try laugh and play with him, he will have a serious face. He don't care. Very hyper, can never sit down, was always jumping from wall to wall. Like, he developed much slower than his twin brother. It's just like so many things. And when he was like 1.5, I started like, your mother senses starts to come on, right? So that I'm like, something's not really up, but I'm gonna watch out for this. Never said nothing. So when he turned 2 now, I started seeing more and more of this behavior. I didn't know at first it was ADHD. I just started putting like all the symptoms he had, like very hyper, oh my gosh, can't follow simple rules, or can't sit down, like stuff like that. And then different stuff started coming up on the internet. So when he turned, I would say about 3, that I brought it to my doctor. I said, I think my son has ADHD. Like, I read so much about it. I've been doing research for a good 1.5 years now. Like, can you help me out here? I told her all my concerns. And at that time, she was saying like, well, he's very young. And usually children with ADHD, we won't diagnose them until they're like 6 years old and up. So I said, okay. So, still reading about it, still find ways to deal with Jezreel. And then he starts school now. So he's in grade 4. He's 4 years old and he's in JK. So at first he went to regular school. And the behaviors that he was having at home, he was having at school, like being very hyper, couldn't sit down, couldn't focus, couldn't follow simple rules. Just going, like constantly. And the school that he was at obviously couldn't manage that because they had other kids in their classroom and they couldn't put all their attention into Jezreel. So let me tell you something. Jezreel got suspended on the 2nd day of school. The 2nd day of being junior kindergarten, he got suspended. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I didn't say nothing to them at that moment in time, but I'm thinking to myself, like, how are you suspending a 4-year-old? Like, what is he going to learn out of this? But whatever, like, as I said, my first time going through something like this, one of my childs. So I went along with it. So yeah, very quickly, like I'll say within 2-3 months of school, like he started school in September, and in January, they had put him in a different class. I'm trying to remember. It's like a behavioral class, but I'm trying to remember the name that they call KIP. It's called KIP, K-I-P, KIP program, Kindergarten Intervention Program. So they had put him in that. He was doing very well in that program at that school with that teacher, because they had to switch schools. So, the teacher, they're still doing assessments on him, like trying to figure out like whatever the case may be. But the teacher, she's pretty good with him. Like, she knew that he was very hyper, but she was able to have that one-on-one with him to let him know, like, hey, Jezzo, okay, let's sit down. Writing his name was pretty hard for him. For the first year, he could only write J. Like, he couldn't write his name properly. He couldn't remember how to spell his name. And it's not like that my child is dumb. No, my child is very, very smart. So don't try to come for him, because y'all gonna answer to me. But yeah, it's just the disability that he had prevent him from actually remembering things and being able to like focus so he can actually do his academics. So we end up moving now, and obviously he had to move schools. So he was still in the KIP program though. So we moved schools, and he starts this new school in the program. Big mistake. Big mistake. It was a big mistake, first of all, to move my son out of that school to put him into this school. But let me continue my story. So he went to the school. Obviously, he has an IEP. Obviously, you go to school meetings. Obviously, like, they get other paperwork from the other school to find out how Jezzo is, whatever. So Jezzo was, good student, very hyper, but was able to listen. Not a threat to nobody, nothing like that. Like, mom is very cooperative, involved, everything. So he starts his new school now, and I'm telling you, within the week, I'm seeing some like serious changes in my son. Like, that I never seen before, that I didn't know that this was even in him. I just didn't understand. Like, for example, he was swearing. Like, the teacher would call me and say, oh, Jezzo just said fuck you to me. Like, I don't want to swear too much because Jezzo is here. But yeah, Jezzo said fuck you to me. And I'll be like, what? Jezro? Are you sure, ma'am? And she's like, yeah, we cannot tolerate this. So I was like, okay, I was confused. So he came home. I talked to him like, you can't be saying those things. Yeah, like, when I asked Jezzo, like, why do you do things like this, or why you say things like this, it's very hard for him to, like, express his words. He can only do it in actions, okay? So it's very hard for him to, like, talk it out how he really feels. So whatever, didn't really get that much of an answer from him. Then the next day, literally, every single day, these people are calling me, okay? So the next day, oh, Jezro, he hit the student, and now the student's mouth is bleeding. What? Well, what did the student do to Jezro? Oh, the student do nothing to Jezro. Your son is just too strong. And why? We don't know why Jezro's doing it. So I'm like, this don't sound right. I asked Jezro, I'm like, Jezro, why do you hit the boy? Like, why you make his mouth bleed? Oh, because the boy hit me. Okay, so why didn't you tell the teacher? I did, but the teacher was ignoring me. Okay, so that kind of makes sense. Next time they'll call me, oh, Jezzo tried to hurt himself. He tried to jump off the banister. Jezzo, he loves to climb. He's a climber, okay? But he knows his limits. He knows, like, if I jump from this type height, I'm going to get serious hurt, and I'm not going to do that. But if he's jumping from, like, here, trust me, he knows. Or, Jezzo ran out the school. We can't find him. Like, you need to come here right now. Jezzo's out of control. So they got to the point now, they're saying, Jezro's trying to harm himself, and Jezro is out of control, and Jezro's throwing a tantrum. So it's like this is confusing to me. Like, keep in mind, I used to go to the school, like, to figure out, like, when the behavior first started, in the new school, I went to the school to find out, like, okay, why is he swearing? Like, where did he get the swearing from? And when he was in the classroom, you can see that there's other kids who got mad, which are older than Jezzo, because they had older kids than him in that class, who got mad and started swearing. So I'm like, okay, obviously he picked this behavior up from these other students. And I'm not gonna lie, once again, my son, he tends to, not all my sons, just Jezzo. Jezzo tends to follow what he sees. So obviously he picked up that behavior. And then the thing that got me so mad, it was the principal, because she's the one who called me and told me, oh, your son, is swearing outrageously and blah, blah, blah. And when I got to the school and she seen that I was in the classroom, she seen that the kid was swearing to the teacher in front of me. This is what the lady want to come tell me. Oh, kids will be kids. Yes, well, yeah, kids will be kids. So then why are you calling me and telling me that my child is swearing when you clearly seen when he came to the school, he was not swearing? And you have students in your classroom are swearing. So obviously he's going to pick up this behavior. But whatever. So, so they're complaining about, oh, Jezel, he's becoming a handful, blah, blah, blah. So one day now, then after I told the doctor, I'm like, doctor, like, they keep complaining, blah, blah, blah. So my family doctor then referred us to a child psychiatrist. Then she's like, okay, we did an assessment. Like, we've been through so many assessments. We've been to Griffin, we've been to HealthCrest, we've been to, it's just so many organizations we've been to just to figure out what's going on with Jezel. So the psychiatrist that we met, she's like, okay, yeah, like, Jezel has ADHD. At first, it wasn't severe. It was just ADHD. Let's try to do some stuff that to help him manage his ADHD, which I was already doing way before she even came into our life. But she was on the same page as me, like, let's not put him on medication right now because we're gonna try this stuff out, which is like a routine for him, awarding him, like just praising all the good and not the negative, which I was already doing because, as I said, I've been researching about ADHD for so long. In the school now, I had to inform the school, like, he has ADHD. And upon that, the psychiatrist at the school also did an assessment, and she also diagnosed him with ODD. So, so one day now, I remember this day so perfectly. It was it December? I guess I don't remember so perfectly. But is it December or January? No, because there's two incidents. December. So December of, is it last year? December of last year. I think December the 19th of last year. Around there. Like, I know it was literally 2 days before school had closed for the winter break. So I get a phone call from the school. Miss Howard, you need to come here right now. Jezel's out of control. We can't control him. We're scared for his safety. We are calling the police and ambulance right now. Keep in mind, my son was only 5, okay? So I'm like, calling the police. I'm like, okay, I'm coming right now. I literally live like 3 minutes away from the house. So I jumped in my car, went to the school. So I go to school. I see one of the CYCs, like child youth workers, holding Jezel now, right? And I'm like, oh, let go of him. He's like, first of all, he's asking me, are you sure? Am I sure? No, I ain't sure. I'm just a mom for nothing. But are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. Let go of my son. I'm like, yeah, let go of him. So he lets go of him. Automatically, Jezel runs into my arms, and he just started, like, he was already crying. Like, I don't know what was going on. He was already crying. But automatically, he just runs into my arms and starts crying even harder, puts his head on my shoulder. So I'm like, Jezel, like, are you okay? Like, what's going on? Talk to me, whatever. Two twos, I turn around. I see, like, 3 or 4 officers. I see, the ambulance. So I'm like, what the hell? Like, I know they said they're calling them, but I figured since I'm already here, they would have canceled the call, like, So before I can even speak to the police officer, and even the police officer looked like she was kind of annoyed by the principal, but before I can even speak to the officer, the principal, was saying, oh, he was trying to hurt himself, he was trying to gouge out his eyes, he was trying to hit his head on the floor. I think we should bring him to the hospital. Automatically. So then the officer was like, okay, can I speak to his mother? And she's like, oh, okay. And she's just standing there. And after, she was asking me, like, did Jezel ever do this before? And, like, why is this? Blah, blah, blah. And I was telling, like, no, this is the first time. And I didn't care. I was blunt with this lady. I said, ever since he came to school, his life has been going downhill. Yes, he has ADHD, but the school just made my son's behavior worse. Like, I don't know what's going on, what they did to my child. So whatever, long story short, they requested that, I bring him to the hospital. And because the school had called the police and ambulance, I was aware that because I'm also studying child youth worker in school, right? So I'm also aware that once the school has called the emergency, obviously children aides are, like the child protection services are going to be contacting you as well to find out, like, hey, why did the school call them? And it's like, tell me what's going on with this child and everything's okay, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, just be on my safe side. I already knew what was going on with my child, but be on my safe side, let me just bring him, like, So whatever, I brought him to the hospital. The psych ward doctor, whatever, comes, he just looks at him. He takes him to the room for like, I think 5 minutes, come back and said, oh, he has ADHD. Well, yeah, I told you that. Like, you didn't really do nothing, but thank you. So I brought him back to my family doctor and to the psychiatrist that we have. And at that point, she's like, okay, like, it's getting out of hand, and these schools, that doctor is really on my side, because she's like, these schools don't know how to handle him. All they want to do is like basically, put kids in a little bubble. Like, she was really talking to me, and she's like, honestly, it's up to you. Like, you don't have to give the medication, but this is not going to stop because Jezel's behavior is getting worse. So you guys understand, I did not want to put him on medication, like, at all. Like, I cried. This was roughly the same time when I had started my whole YouTube. So the reason for me to stop is because I was going through this whole like depression mode like putting my son on medication, trying to figure out like, why is he getting so worse in his behavior, and why the school's treating him like this. So like every day I just kept crying, and like, my husband, like, he's very loving and supportive, but he doesn't really know how to, like, support me. So, like, we used to get into arguments, like, all the time, because he'll be, babe, what's wrong? Talk to me, come on, bother me, and I just want him to be left alone, so we'll argue all the time. So then I had the stress of being home with my husband, and it was just a lot. And finally, like, I had no other choice but to put him on medication, because they kept calling. A second time happened when they called the ambulance, and we had to bring him back to the psych ward. And at that point, I felt bad for him, because I'm like, yo, he's going through so much. Like, he's going to remember this. This is very traumatizing to him. He's only 5. So I'm like, hey, I don't really have a choice. Like, I have to, like, put on medication. So when we started the medication, we started off with bifenton. Bifenton, that worked, but he was also having side effects. And the side effects he was having, it was that he kept on crying for no reason. Like, he'll take it, and 30 minutes, he'd start bawling his eyes. And I'm like, Jizzle, like, what's wrong? Why are you crying? And he's like, I don't know. I just want to cry. And I automatically stopped him, and I called the doctor, and I told her, and she's like, yeah, you can't take that one. So right now, he is on Adderall. So with Adderall, he's on a 10 gram for Adderall, and I see a little bit of difference, but once again, he's in a new school now. Right now, he's not in school. He's in a, something called day treatment, because obviously the schools can't manage him. So I had to make that decision to put him in a day treatment. And even being in this day treatment, because they specialize in children like this, even being in day treatments, they're having a hard time with Jezreel. So that's why I said Jezreel's home, because right now he's only going to school in the morning time, and he's going to be home in the afternoon. So I think next week we're going to try to put him in school for afternoons and keep him home for mornings. And eventually the goal is to have him in day treatment for the full day to see. And yeah, that's where my life is right now. What's going to happen if day treatment does not work? I really don't know. And honestly, it's pretty scary to me, because I don't want to have to like put my child in no like residential care because, you know, no school or day treatments can like provide for him. So now he has to go away. Like, that's not what I want. And I definitely want to keep my son on medication because I don't want him to get addicted to these medicines. So, but then again, like, he needs to learn. He needs to, you know, be able to say his numbers all up to 100, or be able to like read. Like right now, his twin brother, he can read, and Jezreel, he cannot. Jezreel, he just learned how to count up to 20, and he's 6. So it takes a lot of work with Jezreel, but I know he's gonna get there. So yeah, that's basically where I have been right now with Jezreel. Right now we're still going through stuff. Like, I'm still trying with Jezreel, and I'm hoping as he gets older it can get better, but you just never know. I'm learning every day about ADHD, about little different methods. You know, it's a learning process. So I don't know if you guys have anything on children with ADHD, or just any suggestions, or just want to talk. If you have a child that's going through the same thing, please do reach out to me, because as I said, a girl got it hard right now with her son. And the thing is, like, not the school that he's in now, not the the day treatment school that he's in, but I'm talking about the Toronto District School Board that he was in. Yo, they're so nasty. They're nasty people. Like, all they talk about is the negative side of a child. And I'm not only talking about my child. I'm pretty sure it's for everybody that, you know, that has a child going through the same thing that I'm going through. But like, for Jezreel, all they kept talking about, Jezreel this and Jezreel that, and Jezreel, like, all the negative. And like, I remember one time I was like, well, you know, Jezreel is a loving guy. You know, Jezreel is a caring person. Jezreel does like to share. You know, Jezreel does have sympathy. Like, where's all this? Jezreel is very smart. Like, what are you guys talking about? Like, where are the positive? Like, do you guys watch my child? So that really pissed me off. And I remember one time I was having a meeting with the teacher. With the principal. And I had my baby with me at the time. And this lady did not even concentrate on me and my mom, my dad speaking about Jezreel's needs. She'll just concentrate on the baby. She's like, oh my God, he's so cute. And where they're trying to talk to her about Jezreel. And like, that pissed me the hell off. It pissed me all the hell off so bad. But I'm just saying, yeah. You guys, hopefully you guys, somebody's out there can help me, I don't know, but I'm still doing researches. I am still learning. This is why I'm taking the CYC program. I want to work with children in mental health, being that I have one in mental health and I see how it is now. I just want to help them out. Like, they're innocent. They're sweet and they're innocent. Like, I love children. Well, obviously, y'all know I love children. I have 5 of them. Okay. But, yeah. So, that is why I have been AWOL. But hopefully, I'm here back now. I'm going to stick at it. And y'all can see what goes on with Jezreel. All right, bye, guys.